Oscar's attorney. How are you today?
Well, actually, I wanted to, as I was telling you yesterday.
I'm sorry, how are you today?
Huh? Oh, well, I'm so-so. As I was telling you yesterday, forgive me, I'm breathing hard. I have a heart condition. There was an armed robbery in front of this house. It was captured on my security cameras.
Okay, Miss Copeland, let me be
so I just want to be
brief as I can.
Well, I just want you to know that I am documenting everything with the detectives who came here to inform me there was an armed robbery. Insofar as I'm concerned, there's a cloud over my mom's death. And if anything happens to me, I want them to know.
I appreciate everything that you have.
Also, I would like copies of all of the documents. I have not gotten, I've got very little from you. I didn't get the signed contract that Oscar.
Care worker. I'm not any of those things.
Well,
if you need assistance in those regards, I'll be happy.
No, I just wanted you to know that I'm documenting
it. A family member of my client, but I
have not gotten copies of that contract that Oscar signed for the sale of the house yet. The only thing I've gotten from you this year is the letter about the bars on the windows. Before that was the report on my mother's estate. I am in the dark. Where are all of the documents associated with my mother's estate and the sale of her house?
Right. So, so part of the reason that I'm calling now is to be clear. One, I mean, like I said, I appreciate where you're coming from and who you are, as the sibling of my client. So I want to make sure that I give you the due deference and respect that you certainly,
including the documentation from my mother's estate.
At the same time, I need you to understand what my job is in assisting Oscar and the administration of the estate. I've been hired to help get the house sold. That's my objective.
Does that mean? Let me ask you. Does that mean you're getting?
Because you indicated that you wanted to see it happen. You wanted it to be done properly.
Of course.
You had plans to move out to England. So I thought in that regard.
Well, girl, maybe not England, but So by the way, who's getting the $21,000 fee you have listed in your report? Who's getting that money?
What $21,000?
You have
Which one is that?
You have on the page which lists the proceeds from the sale of the house, a $21,000 with a T, real estate fee. Who gets that?
That would be split between the brokers that are selling the house, the ones that marketed it for sale and found the buyer and so forth.
Is that the standard fee for such a transaction?
Whatever that percentage is it, 6%, I believe?
That is the standard fee, 6%? I'm just asking. 6% of the sale goes to the broker, the real estate, on both sides, the buyer and the seller, or what?
Yes, they split that fee between them.
And you're not the buyer or seller, are you?
I'm not the buyer or the seller or the broker. I'm the attorney.
Who's the broker on my brother's side?
I'd have to pull up the selling agent's information.
I have time. You?
No, I don't.
Okay, can you get that to me in writing, sir?
Well, again, my question is, do you want the house to be sold or do you want to remain in the house? That's really the question at this point.
I want the house to be sold, but I want the house to be sold. I don't want it to be an illegal sale.
Well,
I don't want it.
Here's the comfort that you have. If you feel that there is anything illegal that has happened, then you have the option to sue me, report me, or do all those things to me because I'm the licensed attorney that's handling and presiding over all of these things.
I'm glad you said that.
I'm perfectly fine with that. Of course, I wouldn't want you to do that, but if I thought that we were doing anything that was underhanded, I wouldn't even bother saying that. I wouldn't even bother calling you.
Let me ask you.
We would have tried to, circumvent, but I've been, and I hope you noticed this, that I have been trying to communicate openly, honestly, and share with you whatever information that I can when we discuss these things, and receive your phone calls. So, and
I don't call you that often. I do not call you that often. I wanted to ask you, what about the 23...
Let me say this, is that, in my legal services in terms of dealing with the surrogate's court to get the appointment and to represent the estate in doing the transaction, I'm trying to just do those things so that I don't end up charging the estate more money than I
well, I want to know what you've done.
charged.
Send me the documentation on what you've done. The first person that Oscar brought to show the house wanted to buy it. So the idea that I didn't let people show it, the first person he brought wanted to buy it, that African woman. So that's, you know, an untruth. But beyond that, something that concerns me is the $23,000 payment in full to Bronx Shepherd Sony, the state, for shoddy work.
Right, as of right now, we're not going to be paying them at the time of the closing. We're going to have to hold that money in escrow to see if they make any claim towards it, because they don't have a lien on the house at all.
And another question, is the house being sold as is and without any conditions?
That's what we're attempting to do. I mean, I know we raised the issue about the bars. You've indicated clearly that you don't want to have to...
Have you done your homework to determine the legality of the security bars, sir?
I have, and I believe I've discussed that with you.
And what is that?
To the best of our knowledge, they're legal.
They're legal. That's the first time you've said that, sir. I'm glad you say that, because, yes, they are, in fact, legal.
Right, but that's also why I have not been calling to harass you about trying to get the bars removed. We had a discussion. I heeded what you said. I went back. I looked further into it. I did my digging. So that's
will you please share that with Oscar? Because
what I haven't heard from you very plainly is whether or not you want the house to be sold, and if so, by when would you be comfortable conducting a closing? That's what I really need to know at this point, Miss Copeland, is by when would you be comfortable to have a closing? I have, based on our conversations, I have everybody else at this point jumping through different hoops to try to accommodate the things that you have raised, because they've been legitimate. Although if they weren't legitimate, then I would have told you, look, Miss Copeland, you're raising illegitimate things. But I haven't said that. I've gone back and said, look, well, this is the issue that she raised. It's legitimate. We took a look at it. This is legitimate. That's legitimate. Now, it is delaying the process, but it is what it is. But at this point, it cannot be delayed indefinitely, because that's not fair to you, to the rest of your other siblings, or to anybody else that's involved. So if you don't want the house to be sold, if you don't want to move, then just say so that we know how to proceed from there. But if you do, then let me know a date by when you would be comfortable to have a closing, so that we can all work concertedly towards that objective.
Well, what I would like to protect myself legally, I'd like, because there's still some things you don't... first of all, please communicate to Oscar that the security bars on the windows are legal, because as late as this week, he told me he more or less said he disputed that. So would you please, you hadn't told me that, but I'm glad you did your homework, and they are. Now, in terms of making sure that the sale is legal, I would like, in writing from you, things like the legality of the bars, and I would like to know how the house is the house being sold as is without any question, or are there any conditions? So
okay, again, Miss Copeland, I'm happy to engage
in writing,
in
right?
all of that, paper sharing with you.
Thank you. I mean, that's what a lawyer's supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do.
That's what a lawyer's supposed to do for his client. You're not my client. So right now, what I've asked you is whether or not you would like the house to be sold, and when you would be comfortable to see a closing take place. Because if what you're telling me is that you're not going to answer that question or cooperate until I share with you all of the different documents that you request, and any others that you might request, I will share those things gladly, but I'll have to do that through the context of a petition to the surrogates court to urge your cooperation. And
are you saying
that's
to me?
But that's just because that's the procedure that has to be followed in a situation like this. And the unfortunate truth is that's a more expensive procedure that I will have to charge the estate for. So now, whatever fee you see on that form for the attorney right now, that fee will go up, because we have to now go through this additional process.
All right, wait a minute. Let me get...
All that I ask is, do you want the house to be sold? That's a yes or no question. And if so, by when would you be comfortable having a closing?
Let me just say this.
That requires a date.
Let me just say...
Now we have yes or no, and then we have a date.
Let me just say this, sir. You're telling me that as a part owner of this house, that in order for me to...
What I'm telling you...
I let you talk now. I let you talk, sir. Sir, I let you talk.
contact me in the past on your behalf. So now...
What did you say? What did you say? I had... What did you just say? What did you just say?
You've had another attorney in the past contact me on your behalf.
Who did I have contact you on my behalf? What was his name?
What's the gentleman's name? I want to say Kip Lenore.
Oh, Kip Lenore,
like
yeah, that was the only one, yeah. Yeah,
okay,
but...
So, and I told him before that, okay, I'm happy to correspond with him. So the only reason I'm even able to correspond with you now is because this is a different matter from the one that he contacted me on. And to the best of my knowledge, he doesn't represent you in that regard anymore.
He contacted you to get my sister's address for the court. The court wanted him to get my sister's address.
Right.
The court, that's why he contacted you.
But if what you need is legal counsel on something, then you should get an attorney, which is the same thing that the surrogate judge himself told you when we were in court. You should get an attorney. I am not your attorney.
No, you are. Clearly. No way. But let me just say this. You're telling me that even... I let you filibuster. Let me speak. You're telling me that even though I own 1/3 of this house, and I am asking you, the lawyer for the executor of my mother's estate, moreover, in the initial correspondence you told me you were going to, you asked me to waive my rights to my brother, and you said, moreover, that you were going to share with me all of the documents associated with my mother's estate. You have not been forthcoming. I have not gotten the signed contract that Oscar signed for the sale of the house. I only found out that he had signed such a contract when the appraiser came. There have been a whole lot of questionable things. I would... wait, just a minute. Don't you know? I let you talk. You're telling me that you're not going to give me any of the pertinent, any documents, and you just want me to say, yes, I want the house sold, set up a date for closing, and sign off. There have been a lot of things that it would make anyone feel uncomfortable that have gone on. I'd like to know the terms of the sale before I agree to go to at least the terms of the sale. Is it as is without conditions? Are there any conditions, what they are? I think that's a reasonable request.
Well, I think I don't agree. I think the most reasonable request is how much is the house being sold for? Because anything other than that is not relevant to someone who intends to move out of it. You follow what I'm saying?
No, because you're finished. Because you're saying that all I have to know is how much it's being sold for.
I'm saying that that's the relevant question. Whether it's sold as is or with bars or no bars and so forth, that's not relevant if you're moving out.
Why not? Suppose there are conditions that are unmet that I am unaware of, and I go to the closing and sign off on it, and then the buyer comes in and they find there's something wrong, and then they say the sale is void.
But there's nothing for you to sign. You're not the executor of the estate.
Yes, but
I will... Nothing for you to do other than receive money.
Yes, but suppose I receive that money, and then the sale is void, and the expectation is that the money be returned.
That won't be. And then
why not? Why not? How can you guarantee?
If you desire, then what we do is an indemnification agreement that simply says that Oscar Copeland, as executor of the estate of Clara Copeland, hereby indemnifies in full Beverly Copeland from and against any and all claims which shall arise in relation to the sale of 3333 Hone Avenue, Bronx, New York, and anything else that you want to put in there.
And what does that mean? Does that mean if the buyer finds that there are conditions that she contractually agreed to are not met, that I don't have to give back my share of the proceeds of the sale?
Absolutely what it means.
That's what that means. So if there are any unmet conditions that the buyer, that contractually, that the buyer and my brother agreed to, that the buyer buys the house, she comes in, she finds that the contract that she had with my brother was not upheld, was not met, and therefore she feels she's been cheated or whatever, that the sale is fraud, I still keep my share of the money. If she wants to, I get all, she can't get the money from me, and neither can he.
That's correct.
And what is the legal instrument called?
and an indemnification.
An indemnification. And so that releases me from any obligation if the sale is in any way fraudulent or contractual agreements are not met by my brother or the buyer.
Right. Anything whatsoever. If anybody ever comes to you saying, Miss Copeland, 3333, you shut them right up and say, oh, don't talk to me, talk to my brother, I'm indemnified.
Yes, well, can you send a copy of that to me?
Absolutely.
All right, I look forward to receiving it. As soon as I do, I'll receive it and get right back to you. We'll probably, if what you say is true, then I have no problem with setting it up. No problem.
Okay, very good. I'll
it's
draw
called
that
an
up.
indemnification.
If I may, I'll email that to you if that's convenient.
Yeah, and in your, in your email, indicate the conversation. A, it releases me from any liability or anything else should the sale in terms of the buyer's responsibilities or the seller's responsibilities or anyone else fails to meet any of the contractual or other obligations. And what about the Bronx Shepherd Sony thing? What about that?
Same thing. If ever they come a knocking, they won't be knocking after you.
And once the house is sold, they can't be paid, right?
No, I mean, that's not the case. That's not the case. Because like I said, we would have to take that $23,000 and put that into escrow. And that's largely pursuant to the surrogate's court procedures. We would have to put that into escrow in the event that they come within the next 6-7 months to make a claim for that amount.
But shouldn't that be cleared up before? I mean, why are you going to, you know what I mean? They did shoddy work. So this is what, my fear of, they come in, they make a claim, and then they say, well, you did shoddy work. They do the work they have to do to fix it up, and then the buyer sells it for an excess of $100,000 profit.
Mm-hmm.
So why wouldn't Sony, would enhance the value of the house, and in as much as they have that legal right to, apparently, I mean, if it's in, you've done your homework, if illegally they are entitled to it, if you've done your homework, then why not make them do it now?
Why not make who do what now?
Sony at Bronx Shepherds do the corrective work to make the house, accessible and up to the building code.
The buyer hasn't asked for that, and that's not necessary.
So, but they still, that means again that after the house is sold, they could say, we want our money. The buyer says, well, you didn't do this stuff. They come and fix it, and then it's sold for in excess of $100,000 net profit. It's flipped. Does the indemnification protect me against that?
Yes, it does.
It does. So if there is, so how does it protect me in terms of Bronx Shepherd Sony?
The same way. Same way. No one can come looking for Beverly Copeland for any debts owed by the estate of Clara Copeland.
But what?
Any responsibilities that fall on the shoulders of Oscar Copeland as executor of the estate.
Okay, but you will have that money in escrow, and they will have that money will be available to them.
Available to whom?
Bronx Shepherd Sony.
Available in what way? I mean, they can make a claim. They can file a claim or make any claim that they're owed money, and we'll have to, deal with them at that point. But Oscar has already reached out to them in that regard. I've communicated with them in that regard, and they have not taken any affirmative action to say, well, we need to be paid this amount or that amount.
But if it's in escrow, they are entitled to it, or entitled to a claim against it. Is that it?
Well, the escrow does not create an entitlement to the claim. They can make a claim even if there's nothing in escrow, but it would be, as a fiduciary, Oscar, it's in his best interest to make sure that in the event of such a claim that there is money set aside to address it. So it's not that the escrow does not create the claim or right to claim. It just creates a reserve in the event that they do come a knocking.
But this is my point. That's like a loose end. That's like a loose end.
No, it is, but it's not. It's a calculated loose end that we attempted to address beforehand, and we're aware of it beforehand. Looked at it beforehand, contacted them about it beforehand, But see, we don't work for Bronx Shepherd, so we can't, tie up their loose ends for them. But
well,
at the same time, what we can do is be prepared if and when they get their act together.
Is it a legitimate thing? It was a, quote, grant. My understandings of grants are things you don't have to pay back, number one. And number two, it's shoddy work. Shouldn't it be dismissed out of hand, especially if the house is being sold and they haven't fixed any of the, done anything, it's shoddy.
Right.
It
should, and that would be something that we would be prepared to defend if they were to come and make any type of claim.
But, all right, but I'm just saying it should be dismissed out of hand, and the $23,000 divided between me, my brother and sister, and the law, and the other fees associated with that. Because A, it's shoddy work, and B, they have made no attempt to address the problems they created.
Right. Well,
and it's a grant, isn't it a grant?
You drafted that indemnification.
And what about the issue of a grant? It is a grant. And, some people at Bronx Shepherd Sony said, my mother, if she died, it wouldn't have to be paid back. Like Curtis, the inspector that they sent from Bronx Shepherd after they did the shoddy work, and I complained to the state. He said it's a grant. You don't have to pay it back even if your mother died. And then others said, we do. So my understanding of a grant, I used to teach finance and business. A grant's are things you don't have to pay back. So that has to be explored, I would think. Because it may not be a lot, but that's, I'm a penny pincher. 7,000 and change to me is, I'm just not used to people pimping off me, Even if it's, so I would like to know, A, it's a grant, and I'm not sure whether my mom, it's something that has to be paid back, but my understanding, grants are not things you pay back. And I vividly recall Curtis said to me and my mother that it wouldn't have to be paid back. It's a grant.
Right. Okay,
so those are I get the...
Two other things, just so that I can be clear before we hang up. I know you said you want to receive this email from me, this document from me, so that you can review and consider, which I'm going to send as soon as I possibly can.
Yes.
I still would like to, at least, if you would, I would like to hear from you an approximate time frame that you think you would be ready to close and be out of the house so that the new buyer will become owner and take possession. An approximate time frame. I'm sure you can't give me an exact date at this point, but an approximate time frame.
Okay, let me tell you. If what you say is true, that is what the indemnification does. Release me from any liability or anything else, any obligation to the buyer or my brother or anyone, bank, anyone else, once the house is sold, because I don't know of any outstanding debts or liens on this house, anything like that. If that releases me from any obligations from the universe of possible people who could have a claim against this house, then, and if you are able to confirm, get in writing from Bronx Shepherd Sony, whether it's a grant, and does that mean that grants do not, you can take, Beverly said that Curtis, the inspector from Bronx Shepherd Sony, told Beverly and her mother that it's a grant and it doesn't have to be paid back, although others said it had to be paid back. In writing from Bronx Shepherd, and why haven't they fixed the, why haven't, and that they don't. If they do not expect to fix the shoddy work that they did, and if they say they are not looking to get that $23,000, and the indemnification says everything that you said, I could agree to leave this house. What is today? Today is, Today is May the 2nd. I would say roughly by the end of June.
Okay.
Isn't that best? I try to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
Just Bronx Shepherd Sony. If it's a grant, I used to teach, I could be nitpicky about different things, but a grant is something you don't pay back. And this is what the inspector who came to see the shoddy work that Sony did said, it's a grant, you don't have to pay it back. He said that to me, and he said it to my mother. I remember his name was Curtis, although others said you have to pay it back. So if it's a grant, And it is, even if it's not a grant, given that it's shoddy work, that we shouldn't have to pay them a penny for it. We shouldn't have to pay them a penny for it.
Okay, and now and lastly, the information regarding the recent robbery and so forth. I understand that.
Oh, it was horrible. I have it on videotape.
Well, I understand.
And the detectives took a copy of the video.
Protective Services also got involved. Is that correct?
Adult Protective Services came because they said I face eviction. I thought it was a crank call at first, so I called Oscar. I said, Oscar, do you know anything about this? He said, no, he hadn't called the Adult Protective Services. I don't face eviction because, I said, I know I don't, because A, all the bills are current. All the bills for the ongoing operation of this house are current. I have, all of them have been paid by their due dates. The oil bill, the real estate taxes, the water taxes, I pay all of those. The utilities, I pay all of them. All of them are current, have been paid by their due date. The one bill that Oscar paid is the insurance for the house. He prepaid it for a year. Now, he prepaid it for a year. What about that work that Wayne Thompson of Weinstein did? And, it was horrible, the work he did. Wayne Thompson did, and the work that De Cruz did, related to the shoddy work that Bronx Shepherd Sony did. See, that's another thing. How on earth...
But what does APS have to do? Adult Protective Services? You said that they came on their own?
No, they came because someone said I was being evicted. But within 10 minutes of the person coming, case manager coming, she apologized and said it was a mistake. So who's doing something that dirty? Who's that dirty doing stuff like that, calling them to come? Within 10 minutes she said it was a mistake. I have the tape of the whole interview.
Whose mistake was it?
It was APS's mistake because I'm capable of taking care of myself. The bills are current, etc., etc.
I see.
So who's doing that?
Okay, and now you said that England is out of the question now, so where would you be heading to?
I didn't. More than likely, I'm going definitely to Europe. But I really, probably, but an English-speaking country, now that rules out a lot of places.
Right.
Oh, definitely I'm going to Europe. I look forward to it. The end of June sounds very good to me. But you see, again, in fact, I think that, as a matter of fact, the work that the guy Wayne Thompson, it was like bizarre. Usually when they replace a switch or an outlet or receptacle, they just unscrew the old and put in the new. He put holes in the walls, holes in the ceiling. I have it all on tape. So, I feel uncomfortable with that. That's what my brother brought, and they said my sister recommended him to my brother. And then MC Home Improvement had to come and clean up his mess, and in so doing, the bathroom, I was able to identify that Bronx Shepherd Sony had not put the underlying coating ceiling on the underlying floor on the bathroom. Now, MC Home Improvement did an outstanding job patching it up, but this problem, that's a fundamental underlying problem. The renovated bathroom does not have the underlying floor to seal it, so over time, it's going to constantly have to be patched unless someone goes in and fixes that underlying problem, which could lead to a building collapse. No doubt, no doubt.
Now, Ms. Copeland, if you had the option of staying in the house but simply buying out your brother's...
I don't want to stay. I want to leave the country. I want to leave the country. I don't want to stay. I want to leave the country. And I don't know what about the electrical, the roof, and the other stuff. I was able to identify that because of the leak that occurred after Weinstein came, and I could ask questions and figure things out, and it was confirmed. So
what's going to help you to leave the country if you don't have family or friends overseas?
Oh, well, listen, I have listen, I used to not tell people things about me, but when they ask questions that assume I'm ignorant, I have to let them know. 5 years out of graduate school, not just a Fortune 100 firm, a Fortune 50 firm. I was at the top of middle management in the most elite group at that multinational or any other multinational, in international treasury. I was the director of Euro markets and international capital planning. In that capacity, my responsibilities included investing the multinationals' money globally, not just with Wall Street, but with the London Stock Exchange all over the world. So, when you work at that level in international, you know that there are firms, relocation firms, that handle everything for everything for you when you relocate. I have contacted such a firm. They're going to get my health care, my housing, my visa, my customs. They're going to pack my stuff, ship my stuff, everything.
Okay.
Everything. So I know about these things because I worked at a very high level in international finance. That was the expectation of a Harvard MBA. My MBA is from Pace. But I had that position because I am squeaky clean.
Okay, so do I need to involve the surrogates court in our process of wrapping up the estate, or do you feel as though we can work together to accomplish the sale of the house before June is done and get you situated, with what you intend to do?
Well, I just, again, want you to know about that underlying problem that could create structural problems for the house again, the bathroom that Bronx Shepherd Sony renovated. I just want you to know that. And again, as long as I'm indemnified through this indemnification, but I think the ethical thing, that's why I keep saying, why doesn't Sony Bronx Shepherd straighten out the mess they created before the house was sold? But it's, it's not, Oscar's the executor of my mother's estate. The people are going to buy it as is, I presume. But if I'm indemnified, it really is my brother's responsibility, not my responsibility. But I wanted to share that with you. Because I see on TV, people say, we'll buy as is, your house, it could be ravaged by Sandy, don't worry about it. So that is not my concern. I'm not a lawyer. But I would like clarification from Bronx Shepherd Sony. How the hell can they expect to a claim to that money? And shouldn't their claim be dismissed? Shouldn't that claim be dismissed before the sale, given the level of shoddy work they did? The cabinets that they installed are not compliant with the ADA at all. The stair lift inside is not ADA compliant. I could tell you why I know, but I don't need to tell you that. Trust me, I know they're not ADA compliant.
Okay.
And the fixtures are not ADA. It's just a horror story. And not only that, the bathroom renovation, I know, does not meet the building code because of the problem of not putting the ceiling floor under the tile. But MC Home Improvement did a masterful job patching it up.
Okay. Well,
so in summary, you're going to send me how soon are you going to get me that indemnification letter? Email.
Until tomorrow. I would like to say today, but I have
wonderful.
a number of things on my desk as it is.
Okay.
Until tomorrow.
Okay, and it will spell out exactly what we said. That I have no obligation to anyone whatsoever. Once I get the proceeds of the sale of the house, they are mine, and no one can make a claim against that money.
That's correct, yeah.
Also, the issue of Bronx Shepherd Sony, are they going to dismiss the state? Is the state's Bronx Shepherd Sony going to dismiss the charges for the work they did, the $23,000, in as much as it is shoddy, and they have made no effort to fix or to repair the work? It doesn't meet the building code, and it's not ADA compliant. The work doesn't meet the building code, it's not ADA compliant, and my mother and I were both told it's a grant that does not have to be repaid by Curtis, the Bronx Shepherd Sony inspector.
Right. Indeed. I will look further into that. Now, in fairness and being candid, let me put this out there. I appreciate your responsiveness or your patience with my questions today, and I think we made some good headway towards our objectives. But obviously, I don't know you, personally, and so while I want to take you at your word in terms of you being able to handle all these different things on your own, as far as relocating to Europe and things like that, part of me, is saying that, well, maybe you might need help, whether from APS or the surrogates court or whatever, in terms of getting the assistance that you need with handling a relocation of that scope.
Again, I told you, I don't like to tell people the things I did. 5 years out of
I know, but I'm assuming that was a little while ago, right?
Yeah, but these are relocation firms handle. These relocation, but these firms are still around. They handle everything, getting your health care, as I said, getting your health care in place, getting your apartment, your housing in place, getting your visa, getting your customs, packing your belongings, shipping your belongings. They handle everything.
Right. No, I believe you. But
and not only that,
without me understanding, what firm you're using, how much it costs, when you have to pay them, who's paying them, how are you paying them, and really that's none of my business, But since I don't know whether that's something that you've already taken care of or been able to take care of or have the means to take care of, both in terms of making the contacts, but also, paying these people before we do a closing. And since I don't know that, I'm thinking, well, maybe it would be in the best interest of all parties involved that you at least had the helping hand of an APS or the additional guidance of the surrogates court.
What could APS do for me? What could APS can't do anything for me? What you what you want to, if you want, okay, your point is well taken, Mr. Rahman. Therefore, what we could do is, and if people do this too when they sell houses too, what we could do, people do this all the time when they sell houses. They have the closing on one day, and then they agree to vacate the house, let's say, by a week after the closing. We could do that, so that everything, I'll have all the money, the check will clear and all of that. We could do that. People do that all the time with sales of houses.
No, I know. People certainly do that all the time. The difference, I guess, in our scenario is that again, I'm not privy to how you intend to do the move out, and the checks. The checks would be the checks would necessarily have to be cut, some of them anyway, to the international moving service that you intend to use, because in order for the estate to protect itself and to try to guarantee vacant delivery of the property within that 1 week time, then the estate would need to make sure that that mover is booked, paid, ready to go, and so forth. I did that with a client, I guess that was at the start of this year or late last year, where, I had the invoice from the mover. I had to share that information, or that information was shared so that the check could be cut, so that the schedule could be made, and that the closing could be scheduled around, and all the rest of that. But I had the moving contract faxed to me so that I was aware of it, so that, again, the representations that I make, and this is one of the good things, I guess, about me being involved, is that I don't want to do anything that's going to put me in a position where someone's going to be coming after me. So if the buyer expects, we have a closing and they expect to receive the property 7 days after vacant with the keys ready to go, and then, a week passes, several more days pass, who are they going to be calling? They're not going to be calling you, they're going to be calling me.
Exactly. Well, let me put it this way. If the house is sold, right, and 7 days after, I have 7 days to vacate, I can get to you, right, in writing that the mover is going to move it on such and such a date. And that will be in that 7 day window after the sale of the house.
Right, well, what I'm saying is I would need to at least know which mover you intend to use. And
I will get all that information to you.
Contract in front of me before I even schedule a closing.
Okay, well, I can get that information to you. The shipping, how the shipper, the process for the shipping of the removal of my property from this house. Yes.
Okay.
I can get that to you.
Let's try to do that. I'll send you what I need to send you, and then you can, respond with what you can send me in that regard.
But let me just ask you, okay, so the indemnification, you said you can get me, what's the day, is Thursday, by in a couple of days or so, right? That's just a boilerplate contract, right? An indemnification, right?
One-page thing, sure.
A legal instrument, right? But it's going to be detailed enough not to be ambiguous. Okay.
Right.
So that you can do. But what about the Bronx Shepherd Sony thing? Or do you think that you might have to go to the state because they may drag their feet directly?
Good question. We might have to go to the state to get answer once and for all as far as the grant aspect of it.
Yeah, and why, they haven't fixed the shoddy work. Tell them that what they did, the bathroom upstairs threatens the structural integrity of the house. Not to mention the stair lifts and the cabinets these are not ADA compliant cabinets. And that they are not ADA compliant. The stair lift inside is not an ADA. I could tell you how I know all that, but I don't want to toot my horn. But the work is not ADA compliant. And the plumbing, I don't know, the electrical. And what about this payment? Weinstein and MC Home Improvement. Why didn't my brother get Bronx Shepherd Sony, to do the work? Why did he have to have Joseph Weinstein, and why did he have to have MC Home Improvement?
Well, because Bronx Shepherd itself is not a contractor, so all that they do is utilize their contractors, and their contractors were coming in with numbers that were way too high.
But they did shoddy work. It's not
right. I understand.
See, I don't understand
and
this.
That issue is, probably a more complicated one. I think where we stand is that, the buyer is ready to close and does not require, the addressing of any of those things that Bronx Shepherds did or should have done. What have you.
But who's going to pay for that? Who's going to pay for that? I mean, given that it's something that Bronx Shepherd Sony should have fixed, and they still haven't fixed the issue of the work, Well,
that's all the more reason why that $23,000 should not be repaid.
Right, and who's paying? And how much?
While I understand that you would, prefer to be able to wrap up this matter with that tide. Part of me, and I think that how we came to, the approach that we've been taking, is that, sometimes, what's the word? Well, I'm trying to think of a phrase or analogy that's often used, but anyway, the point is that it doesn't make sense to ruffle the waters with those folks if they're not already asking. I mean, they've been
but they made it slippery. They're slippery. They doesn't mean they're not going to ask. If they're that
right. It doesn't mean that they're not going to ask, but they have a limited window of time to ask. Once we have funded or closed the sale of the house, then the clock starts ticking for them to make a claim. And if they fail to make a claim, then it's over and done, But if they do make a claim, then we still have all the same ammunition against them now that we, then that we have now.
Yeah, but I think, I just feel, I just have to put it on the table, sir. I feel uncomfortable with the fact that they did shoddy work. Instead of my brother using, and I told him, the cops told me to go to, this was long before, to go to the Department of Buildings because they will lean on the contractors to fix the shoddy work. So, I contacted the Department of Building. They cited the violations. I told Oscar, this is what the cops told me was going to happen. The Department of Buildings is going to cite violations. You now have to make Bronx Shepherd Sony make the necessary corrections. He refused to do that. Instead, he retained Joseph Weinstein and MC Home Improvement. I told him this is the whole process that the cops told me. And if you look at the Department of Buildings website, this is what they do. When a property owner's home contractor's done shoddy work, violations are cited so that the homeowner can make the contractor who did the shoddy work responsive enough to fix the work. Instead of Oscar doing that, he gets private people to pay for the shoddy work, and he still has this $23,000 in escrow. I don't understand that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let me jump on these things.
But just a minute now. I just want to say that if this Bronx Shepherd Sony thing isn't resolved, we might have to delay the closing. But I expect that between now and the end of June, we will have resolution. Either that it is a grant, and that Bronx Shepherd. You go to the city of New York appraises it close to $400,000. Even you lowballed it in your report of the estate, $350,000. What's going on?
Yeah, well, it's I don't know. I'm not the market person, but what I can tell you is that when there are reports of criminal activity and burglary, robberies, home invasions, among other things, that certainly does have an effect on the price of a neighborhood, and certainly on any given block in any given house. So none of us can predict all of those things to an exact science, but it does play a part, as I'm sure you understand.
And why, therefore, does she want the bars removed, the security bars removed?
It's not her. It's just that the bank that she's borrowing from, they have that as a requirement. That's pretty much it.
But you said they don't have to be because they're legal. Am I right? Did I get that right?
No. I said that they are legal, but the bank still has its own policy based on, other things, not based necessarily on the local law, but its own internal policy. So the bank is not going to. But anyway, we. But no,
because I misunderstood you. So are you saying that the security bars have to be removed before the house is sold?
Say that again?
Are you saying that the security bars on the windows of this house have to be removed before the house is sold?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that I think we found a way to not have to deal with that.
Okay, so, well, let me just, wait a minute, because I just, lawyers and language. So, it is my understanding that I do not have to have the security bars on this house removed at all. It's up to the buyer, once they move in, after the house has been sold and I have vacated it, for the buyer to come in and then remove the security bars. Is that correct?
What's correct is that if you were willing to have the bars removed, we could close and finish this process a lot sooner. But because you've indicated that you do not wish them to be removed, and I've tried to
because they're legal
of that, because you're the one that currently lives in the house, I've tried to find other ways to get to allow the buyer to get the mortgage that she needs without having to remove the bars. Now, I'm not the bank, so I don't know with 100% certainty, how ultimately that will be addressed. I think it is possible, or may be possible, for her to get a mortgage loan approved and ready to close without the bars being removed.
But you don't know that yet? I thought you knew that.
Correct. As of right now, I'm not 100% certain.
Okay, so we have, that's another open issue then. That's another open issue then. The issue of, do I have to have the bars, which are legal, security? I mean, there must be some other, in as much as they're legal, they're legal. The idea...
And I'm not debating you on that point. The issue is whether or not you have to, because, again, if it's legal, then it's legal. So the issue is just whether you are willing to, but if you're not willing to, then we have to try to find, an alternative if it's at all practical. If you should change your mind and be willing to, then that would be great. But no, right now, I'm not attempting to twist your arm about that issue. I didn't call about that.
So there are three issues: the indemnifications, the Bronx Shepherds issues, and the sale of the house. With the security bars on the windows.
It's not in it. Let me ask you this: are you willing to have the bars removed before the closing?
I think that would not be a wise decision on my part.
Okay, well then that's not an issue then. Then it's a non-issue.
So that means that they will not be removed until after the closing and the house has been vacated?
That is how we are proceeding right now. If we should reach a point where it's absolutely impractical, then we will have to look at another option of some sort. But right now we're proceeding under the assumption that the bars will remain until after the closing.
And the house is vacated, that 1 week window where I have to get my stuff out?
Yes.
Right. All right. So why would that change? You know, I don't understand.
The borrower has to go to a different loan program. A different loan program that can accommodate the bars for the time being.
But that's a reasonable request, isn't that, Isa? The bars are legal, you know?
Yeah, I understand.
They're legal. I mean, it seems strange to me. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so the bars, the Bronx Shepherd, the indemnification. Those are the three issues.
So let me jump on that. I got my work cut out for me, but
and I have to get to you. Proof that once the house is sold, I will vacate, move, get my stuff out.
Yeah, well, really all that I would need on that, you know, once you have it, is just the name of the firm, or if they send you a quote. If they send you a quote for the job, the move job, the relocation job, then you can email me a copy of their quote, you know, from them, and obviously it will have their contact information and the dollar amount that they're expecting and the initial deposit that they would need and whatever. But once you have that, you know, that would be all that I need essentially on that.
And in terms of the money, the check, it's going to be a liquid check, right? Something that I can...
we can give a certified, you know, bank check ready to go.
And then how long does that take to clear?
It depends on your bank, really, but usually, I guess, no more than, 2 days, I guess, 3 days.
All right.
All right, so I'll follow up.
So you can I'm going to call my bank. I'm going to call my bank. You're going to give me...
To get you the documents we discussed. I'm sure the Bronx Shepherd thing, I probably can't get an answer by close of business tomorrow, but if somehow I'm able to...
And obviously you have to get it in...
As to that as well.
Everything has to be in writing, obviously, from Bronx Shepherds. There's something in writing. Can't be a verbal thing.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
And so you're saying I'm going to be paid via a certified bank check?
Yeah, definitely. That's customary for us when we do these closings. Okay, now, again, I think we're in decent shape. I'm trying to coordinate a number of moving parts with this whole thing. But part of me, I feel like I should say that if for some reason we're not both comfortable with where everything is with all of these issues and items, I would say by May 20th, just to pick a nice round number. Then at that point, you know, I think it might be necessary to get intervention from the surrogate's court. Because, you know, and again, I'm saying that because I want you to feel comfortable with what we're doing. I think you feel more comfortable now than you did maybe, you know, a few days ago, but I want you to feel comfortable, and, you know, obviously we need to feel comfortable that it's going to close and the estate will be able to be liquidated. But if you're not comfortable with it by the 20th, with what I'm able to come up with as far as the documentation and what have you, or if I'm not comfortable with it and it just seems like, you know, we're going to continue being uncomfortable, then at that point I would say, well, let's involve the surrogate again and get him to give us some further direction. I'm hoping that won't be necessary, again, because it will come at an additional cost, monetarily, as well as time, as well as, you know, inconvenience for everybody. But in fairness to everybody involved, including yourself, if you're not comfortable, if I can't make you comfortable with the arrangement, then maybe the surrogate can give some guidance as to how we can resolve all of that.
Let me ask you, how much did it cost how much did Wayne Thompson charge on my brother for what he did? I would like to know. Is that going to be deducted from the proceeds of the sale?
I have to look. I don't really recall what was paid for. I honestly don't know.
but is that going
I'll
to
have
be
to look
deducted?
at that and answer that question for you, but I'll add that to the list of things that I'll need to respond to.
What? Yeah, the amount that Wayne Thompson was paid, MC Home Improvement, I think he told me, I think they were paid $400 and change. But how much? I mean, because it was bizarre what he did for something so simple that he spent days and he destroyed the walls and ceilings too. And MC Home Improvement had to come and fix all that. And, okay. So, again, Oscar, the first person he showed the house to, he had a group of people coming that day, about 3 different real estate people. The first one he showed it to, they bought it. So I said to Oscar, are you going to bring any more? He said, no, because the first one I showed it to wants it. Okay, in terms of the price of the house, you're saying that that's just the way it is, the area, yada, yada, yada. The gates are legal, and obviously with an armed robbery just a few weeks ago in front of the house and all the issues, sexual assault, criminal trespass, you know, I live here alone. I'm a legally disabled senior. I just, you know. So that's good. The bars can stay, the windows can stay as is at this point. But obviously, if Bronx, the 2 sticking points are, really the one is Bronx Shepherds, right? Bronx Shepherds.
Well, I agree with what you said before. It's, you know, you can look at it as a loose end. You know, I don't think it's a sticking point, but it is a loose end that you know, you're requesting clarity on. And
I hope we don't have to go to the surrogates court over Bronx Shepherds. I pray.
No, I mean, I don't think that's, no, that I don't think is necessary, but by itself. But I'm assuming that we're able to resolve everything else, you know, to a level of comfort. I think we should be fine. I don't think that would be a sticking point about going to the surrogates court. So, but let's do our best,
just again,
work expeditiously as quickly as I can.
So the
Obviously,
thing else,
we hope that it would have closed last month.
Yes, I mean, oh my God, I have everything all mapped out. So the cost that he paid, and what is that going to come from? The cost for that would for Weinstein Electrical, MC Home Improvement. Who's getting the $21,000? The detail, the firms, they're the buyers in my brother's side. You know, so my brother, he wanted to, I said, you should know, he's the first person that he showed it to, wanted to buy it. I couldn't believe it, but, you know, he's the executive. My hands are tied on a number of things.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a liquid certified bank check that should, I'm going to check with my bank, that should clear in 1 or 2 days.
Yeah. Okay, let me get on it, finish some other work.
And by the way, just one thing, and by the way, I look forward to getting the letter with the closing date so I could give it to my pension and get my pension advance.
Oh, okay, got you.
And by the way, I get close to the maximum Social Security, and I get close to the maximum with someone today at 66 years old who gets the full benefit would get. I get very close to that. I have a pension from CUNY. It's $9,000 a year, and the Social Security is about $25,000, and that is tax-free because of, you know, because I'm retired and it's Social Security. So that's like the income of someone who makes $70,000. Next year, my other pensions start to kick in, like my pension for working the city. I only have one job as a city, as a senior official assistant commissioner for 9.5 years. That's over $1,000, probably over $1,100 a month added.
So you should be in good shape.
So it's less, believe it or not, in Europe it's cheaper to rent than it is in where I'm going than it is in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And they can live large too.
That's true. Good.
They can live large.
Well, you earned it, so
like they do down south. They live large. I had a friend who was here as a doctor. She said, "Shoot, I'm going down south. I'm living large." She was living in Co-op City. She's got a beautiful home, living large. I don't want to buy. I'm going to rent initially.
Okay. Good stuff. Good to hear. All right, Ms. Copeland, it's been good talking with you. I know we covered a lot of ground, but it's all been good stuff. So I'm looking forward to bringing us to a successful conclusion in the next month or so. Okay,
so we tentatively say the closing end of June, and then a week after to vacate, get all the stuff out. And that I'm going to get a certified bank check, which is a liquid instrument that should be, I'm going to check with my bank which is the best way to get a liquid, which kind of instrument would be best to get. That should be no problem accommodating a multinational bank, right?
No problem.
Okay, and then Bronx Shepherds, there should be a grant, it should be dismissed. The indemnity releases me from any obligation from anyone in the universe. And you're going to send that by email. And you're going to get me the Wayne Thompson, the MC Home Improvement, how much they were paid, and where is this, my brother going to eat that because he didn't do what he was supposed to do, what the cop said he should do, make Bronx Shepherd Sony responsive and the other guy responsive. He refused to do that, which I told him that was the whole purpose of the exercise. And you're going to let me know the real estate firms.
Okay, good stuff. Alrighty, I got it. I'm on it. Thank you so much, and you enjoy the rest of this lovely day.
You too. Bye.
Hello?
Oh, hello, Oscar. How are you? Your lawyer told you that he talked to me today? Hello?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, in one conversation I think he did, but he didn't get into it.
Well, we have certain things we'd like accomplished by May 20th. He's going to get back to me on that. One of the if not, we're going to have to go to surrogates court. One of the things that I called him back on was the issue of him requiring, first of all, he said the bars are legal, which they are legal. He finally conceded that point. They are legal, so we finally conceded that point. At this point, he says the house can be sold with the bars on them. They are legal, and so moving right along. One of the things that he required, I thought was bizarre, that I share with him the information about the relocation company that I am going to use to relocate. Now, I called him back. I said, I don't know what kind of clientele he deals with. I said, just like I tell Oscar, I'm not one of his, ghetto street clients. I'm a woman of accomplishment and service to the community, well-credentialed. And if I say I'm going to be out of this house, I'm going to be out. So that is a sticking point. So even before we can go proceed, he needs to call me back in a day or so and let me know that he understands that I don't have to give him the details of my relocation, that I am leaving. I certainly will, and I have it all worked out, and I'm a woman of integrity. If I say I do, it is the truth. All right?
It sounded like you said that was something that you discussed with him. So
yeah, but no.
You should address that directly with him.
No, it's something
you all talked about.
It's something that he said he wanted, because it's something that it's not really a big deal. But I'm kind of insulted that he wants to know my relocation plan. I don't have to tell him my relocation. That's none of his business. And when people move from a house, it's not required that you share with the buyer or the executive of the estate's attorney your relocation plans, the company you're using, and the details. That's really an insult to my integrity and professionalism. So he needs to respond to that in a day or so. I don't want to have to go through the whole email process and all of that, but that's really an insult.
Now, what I do know, the lady, she got, it's another company that has given her a different kind of loan, where the bars are, where it's not a requirement to move the bars. But she's got, because she's got to come out with someone from, not the company, the bank, the other lending person has to come out. So basically, because I need to call you anyway. I think tentatively I need to confirm with you next Wednesday at about 10 o'clock.
Hold on a minute.
She needs to
What date is
come
next Wednesday?
so that the person can do a walkthrough of the house.
Was that the 7th?
Let me see, Wednesday?
No, Wednesday is the 8th.
Wednesday is the 8th, yeah.
Wednesday the 8th at 10 o'clock?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is she going to be here? When you're coming with her next Wednesday?
I would definitely be there, yes. If she's coming with a representative to walk through the house, yes.
Wednesday, the the 8th of May at 10 o'clock. She's coming because she has another, what did you say? What's the story now?
Well, she has a different lender, a different type of loan from a different bank. So she's got someone that's coming to see the house regarding, I guess, authorizing that she had a certain amount of money. So
authorizing what?
She has a different bank lender, so
yes.
she's got to come with a representative regarding her new approval for a different loan. They're coming to check out the house.
Okay, a different appraiser?
Well, this is right now she changed it. I think Fargo. She had one bank, now she has Fargo Bank, and right. So someone else has to come out regarding her loan to come out and check out the house. Yes.
All right. And this Fargo Bank you said they understand that the bars are legal and they don't have to be removed. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is not an issue with this bank. That's why she switched it. She got a type of loan where it's not an issue.
Now, she was the first person that you brought a group of people the first time. She was the first one of that group of people that you brought to see the house. Remember that?
Yeah, she was in the distribution group, yes.
The first group, there was a group of them, and she was the first one in the first group, and she agreed to buy the house right away. So I asked you, did you need anyone else to see the house? And you said because she'd already agreed to buy it, it wasn't necessary. Remember?
Well, there are all kinds of things with the bank. I'm not an expert on the house.
No. I'm not talking about the...
I can't remember.
No. I'm just saying that when you were bringing people to see the house, you brought a group of people, at least, I think, 3 different real estate agents, and they had and they waited, we had one group go through, then another, and she was part of the first group, and she agreed to buy the house, and therefore you agreed it was not necessary to have other people to look at the house because she agreed to buy the house.
She still has the same buyer that we're still dealing with.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that the reason you didn't show more people the house after the first group, and she wasn't the only one, different real estate agents came that day, is because the first person you showed agreed to buy the house.
You're right, she was in the first group, right. She was in the initial group of people that day to see the house, and she was selected as to purchase the house, and we're still trying to work that process out for her to purchase the house.
But I'm saying that's why you didn't bring more people to see the house, because you had a buyer from the initial group.
That's right.
That's right, okay. So, yeah, we had a buyer. It would have been unethical, actually, to bring other people in if you had a buyer that, you were going to sell the house to. And there was a woman. I got their cards. There was Voss, and then there was a man gave me his card from another real estate company. He brought people, and then there was a woman from a real estate agent. She was not the only one. It was a group of them. It was almost like an open house, but they had appointments to come in that day. Remember?
Yeah, I remember that evening. Right? They all saw the house.
I didn't shut anyone out. Everybody who was on the schedule came, and they got to see it. The first one happened to want to buy it. But if she didn't, I would of course have agreed to let other people in, if it was done in a respectful way. I just want clarification on that. It's not like I kept people out. She was the first one in the first group, the first real estate, and she wanted to buy it the first day.
Okay. All right. So at least I'm glad I spoke to you. So at least for next Wednesday, Wednesday morning, I'll see you next Wednesday morning at 10.
Wednesday morning at 10 o'clock. The bars are legal. The bars do not have to be removed. Is there anything else that has to be removed by this bank? What else could there be? Not just the property, and that should be all removed. But just to let your lawyer know, I tried to tell him, because I don't tell people things, but lately I feel I'm compelled to. As you know, I had a job 5 years out of business school. Harvard MBAs fantasize about getting the top of middle management at the most elite group in any multinational, international treasury. Director of Euro Markets and International Capital Planning. In that capacity, my responsibilities were to invest the multinationals' money not only globally, not only with Wall Street, but with the London Stock Exchange, the Tokyo Stock Exchange, all around the world. So I know about relocation, firms, etc. These firms do not take deposits. They don't take money until the services are rendered. Okay? So I just feel I'm a person of integrity, and I am very, very insulted by I didn't say anything because I didn't want to go off when he said I had to, but that's the way these firms operate. So I feel it's an insult that I'm required to share with him the details of my relocation. It has nothing to do with him. Okay?
What you told me, you spoke with him for about an hour, I think.
Yeah, but I didn't say anything at the time because
directly about what you talked about.
I wanted to share it with you. I couldn't reach him, and I don't know if he'll get. I don't know if he'll get. He doesn't always get the voicemail. That's why I called you. It is an insult to suggest that I would do anything underhanded. It's an insult.
Okay. All right. So, okay.
Or I don't have to tell him my plans and my relocation. That's none of his business. All right? Bye. You have anything else to say, Oscar?